Hello everyone, welcome to the Hindu analysis for 6th February 2021. Let us begin with the first article. J&K restores 4G internet mobile. So yesterday the Jammu and Kashmir administration has restored high-speed mobile internet which was cut since August 5th, 2019. That was the day when special status of Jammu and Kashmir was revoked and Article 370 was stripped away from Jammu and Kashmir, and it was converted into a union territory while taking away its statehood. Since then, there were no 4G internet services and broadband internet services in the Jammu and Kashmir region. So, an advanced special committee was constituted by the center to review the situation and take up the issue of 4G internet speed in Jammu and Kashmir. This special committee, after reviewing the overall security situation in Jammu and Kashmir, gave its report stating that the security situation has improved and you can restore 4G internet services and broadband services in Jammu and Kashmir. So based on that, the Home Department has revoked the order curtailing the 4G mobile internet services and restored 4G internet and broadband services in Jammu and Kashmir. If you have been noticing, this was one of the major points where the government of India has received criticism and backlash from all major facets of society, stating that you cannot deny internet to the people by showing the cause of internal security or security as reason. Now, this is a positive progressive step in the process of restoring normalcy in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Coming to the next article, Pfizer India withdraws vaccine application. So, Pfizer is an international company which has applied its COVID vaccine for emergency use in India. This was the first company before Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech to apply for an emergency use case permission in front of the Drug Controller General of India. This was the first company. After Pfizer applied for emergency use only, Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute applied for emergency use. But if you know, Pfizer did not get its approval for emergency use. Only Serum Institute and Bharat Biotech, though applied at later stages, got permission first. So the reasons are twofold. One is an expert committee set up by DCGI declined its approval for Pfizer vaccine because they noticed some severe side effects for the vaccine in countries which it was administered in or used in. Based on the data, they said that this vaccine might not be safe. The second reason being, whatever the efficacy data that Pfizer gave to Indian administration or Indian Drug Control Authority was all the data based on US and UK and some other Western countries, not India specifically. The Indian government or the administration controller came out and said that please conduct necessary trials on Indian population so that we can know how this vaccine works on Indian genetic makeup. Without that data, we cannot give you approval because we don't know what kind of side effects Indian population might face of the vaccine that you made for Western countries, which the Pfizer did not go through. So yesterday, after a meeting or after a session of meetings, Pfizer decided that we are going to withdraw our application for emergency use and we will reevaluate our situation in India. So Pfizer hasn't spelled out any plan to generate safety and immunogenicity data in the Indian population. Again, they did not give data and they also did not intend to do so. One of the reasons that Indian government might not have approved this vaccine is of the price. Both Bharat Biotech's and Serum Institute's vaccine is $3 to $4, maximum $7. Pfizer's vaccine is $125 to $145, and the storage capacity also, the storage temperature for this vaccine is also very high compared to the Serum Institute's vaccine and Covaxin, that is Bharat Biotech's vaccine. Coming to the next article, privacy concerns over Haryana's ID scheme. So, Parivar Pehchan Patra scheme is a scheme that was launched by the government of Haryana. PPP scheme was formally launched in 2019 to achieve Haryana government's vision for paperless and faceless delivery schemes of services, schemes and benefits offered by the state government. But recently the government has started a renewed push to enroll people into this scheme. The enrollment into this scheme is a voluntary one, though there are certain steps taken by the central government ensuring or making the enrollment into this scheme mandatory. Let us look into those. What are those? So of the estimated 65 lakh families in Haryana, around 48 lakhs have voluntarily enrolled for PPP scheme and provided the data on self-declaration mode and claimed their benefits. That is the statement from the Haryana government. So coming to the scheme itself, any family with a Haryana residential address can enroll for the PPP scheme. The family ID or PPP, an 8-digit alphanumeric ID, is provided to those residents who are enrolled in this scheme of Haryana. So it is like a localized Aadhaar scheme, but instead of biometrics they are asking for much more information than what Aadhaar is asking for. So it is a registration ID provided to those who live in Haryana but have not completed residency requirements. So residency requirements is either they were born in there or they have been living there for the past 40 years or 50 years, but the government has brought down the necessary years from 20 to 15 again to improve their data set. They also started registering migrant families so that the government can better deal with migrant population and provide schemes and necessary services to these migrant families who are always or almost live below the poverty line sector or areas of our society. So they want this migrant labor to have benefits of labor schemes from the Labor Welfare Board and Board of Construction Workers and street vendor support schemes and much more. So with this data they want to have the data of the natural born citizens of the state and migrant laborers for better management of schemes and services that the state government and central government provides in that state of Haryana. So as of now, over 110 services and schemes being delivered to citizens via the Saral platform, which has been directly linked with the PPP scheme. Saral platform is a government platform that acts as a single portal for citizen service delivery. Now the Haryana government has also linked the Saral portal with PPP data to weed out any wastages or fake recipients of services. Again, the Haryana government went a step ahead and is also planning to link property records in the government database with PPP of lands, so that in future they can prevent fraudulent transactions and clarify ownership in land related matters. So the scheme on top of it looks very positive, but the way or the manner in which the data is being collected is little bit forceful. Though the government came out and said that the participation in this scheme is voluntary, and the government employees may choose to or may not choose to participate in the scheme, but the government is approaching schools and people by linking social schemes and services with PPP. So in schools, if you need any birth certificates or death certificates in general, you have to be enrolled in PPP. If you are not enrolled, you might not get birth certificates or death certificates, again forcing people to enroll into the PPP. So if you are again enrolled in PPE only, you will get access to the government services or subsidies the government provides. If you are not in PPP, you will be denied or most likely be denied of those services, again forcing people into registering. What is the criticism here? The criticism is a lot of data is being sought well above and beyond what is required to deliver education and related services. The demand for Aadhaar numbers evidently virtually mandatory, which is in violation of the Supreme Court guidelines. They are also asking for virtual Aadhaar data, though the Supreme Court clearly laid down guidance that nobody can ask for Aadhaar details on a mandatory basis. It has to be voluntary, but this scheme is asking for mandatory Aadhaar virtual data, which goes against the Supreme Court guidelines. and the data that they are asking is also well beyond reasonable needs to fulfill the schemes and delivery of schemes. Additionally, in the absence of privacy laws in India or any indication of data protection standard operating procedures, they are not following any standard operating procedures in securing the data that has been collected. So it is worrisome that there might be a potential abuse of data that is being collected. So the data is not secure enough. They are not giving the details as to how this data is being stored or saved. So there is a potential chance for this data being leaked. So from the data perspective and data protection perspective, there are a lot of pitfalls. So it is visually telling schools and RWAs to ensure, again I said right, the government is ensuring 100% compliancy through other means and ways by saying on the top that it is a voluntary scheme. But as I said, the government officer who is responsible for the entire scheme's implementation, saying that the data would be only used for planning purposes and for delivery of government schemes, subsidies, benefits and services, and not for any private purposes. That is the word of the government against the actions of the government against the concerns of the citizens. That is Parivar Pehchan Patra or Patra scheme in the government of Haryana. This is a mini Aadhaar scheme that is being linked with social schemes and services. Coming to the next article, let states take a call on the laws, Swami tells Prime Minister. So I inducted this article because of the unique solution that has been provided by a sitting member of Rajya Sabha, Mr. Subramania Swamy here. So his idea or his suggestion to the Prime Minister was, the 3 agricultural reform laws should only be implemented in the states which wish to do so. So whichever the state wants to implement these laws, let us implement in only this in those states which has requested for the implementation, and not forcefully impose on states which do not want this law to be applied in their states. So that is something of a compromise where the farmers get what they want and the central government gets what they want. It's a win-win situation for both, and also a compromise given that for the last 17 days the agitations have been going on, and mind you, we have an active border situation in Ladakh where both our armies, Indian Army and the Chinese Army, are face to face in an eyeball to eyeball situation. So we cannot afford to have an internal crisis when we are at the front or at the verge of having an external crisis on our borders. So he suggested the rules be framed for the acts and suggested that 3 specific rules should be introduced into the acts, upon which the one is, the first rule should restrict the implementation of the act to those states which in writing inform its willingness to implement the act, and thus who does not inform its willingness to implement may be given the freedom not to benefit from the salutary aspects of the agricultural reforms. As I said, which states want to inform, let them give in a writing, we will implement in those states. Which states will not give willingness in writing, we will not implement, and they will not also receive the benefits of the law in their state, both in terms of finance and policy. The second rule should state that every state would be eligible for minimum support price in perpetuity. So one of the standing points, or one of the main demands of the farmers is MSP. He says that let us give MSP for the states indefinitely. The third rule should limit the buying of food grains by only those who have no other major businesses or commercial interests other than the agricultural trade. This will also address the question raised by farmers, what if major companies want to take advantage of us? He said that let us limit those who are participating in the 3 formulas to people who want only to do trade in agricultural industry or agricultural sector, not private sector. That is a unique compromise. We have to wait and see how the government or the Prime Minister responds to this request. Coming to the next article, whopping 900% in rejection of crop insurance claim. So the crop insurance scheme in India is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So recently, for the past 2 or 3 years, the percentage of people's claim being rejected has risen by 900%. This question was raised in Parliament in the budget session, to which the Agricultural Minister said that under PMFBY, there was actually no need to file crop loss claims in case of widespread natural calamities such as drought and flood, as the claims were calculated on the basis of shortfall in the yield of the whole unit. And whenever this is in cases of large scale devastation or large scale destruction of agricultural property or agricultural field, but when small scale is involved, he said that a different process comes when it came to risk impacting smaller areas, such as losses due to localized risks of hailstorms, landslips, inundation, cloudburst or natural fire. Such losses were calculated on the basis of crop loss assessment at individual and insured farm levels in the state government levels. So this has twofold answers. One is when there is a large scale devastation of agricultural output or agricultural outcome, the amount of insurance that is being given out is in the hands of state government data, so this cannot be calculated with the insurance scheme of the central government. The insurance scheme plays into picture only when localized scale or localized devastation of farm produce or farm lands occurs due to localized natural events or calamities. He said that these companies can reject claims on various grounds. The rejection can be on various grounds, and the attributing of 900% rise in rejection of claims can be little bit misconstrued. Coming to the next article, China unlikely to collude with Pak to target India, IAF chief. So this statement comes at a critical time where we are facing a very hot border situation in Ladakh with China. So he said that China would lose moral authority if it colluded with Pakistan to target India. So he noted that he did not see China getting into a collusive kind of arrangement in conflict situation to start. He is talking about a two-front war here. If we start a war with Pakistan, he is saying that China will lose a moral authority if it gets involved and open its own war front with India in eastern Ladakh and Ladakh areas. So the collusive threat would be in the background. He stated that in electronic support. So he says that though China might not actively partake in war with Pakistan by siding with Pakistan, it might take a very passive role by supporting through means of logistics or by providing electronic surveillance equipment and intelligence through its using its resources and throwing its weight behind Pakistan passively, not directly. So he called, coming back to the situation in Ladakh, he called the situation in Ladakh as a stalemate status quo. He also said that we should lay a lot of emphasis on talks. The last round of talks was quite okay, but inconclusive because both sides held their ground. He said that in case an agreement was not reached and the current deployments continued, then as winter ended, an element of higher level of alertness would be required. It really depends on ground realities. He is indirectly saying that due to bad weather, we are holding our ground. If the talks fail and winter ends in the beginning of summer, there is a greater chance that we will have a short or long-term conflict with China. He is not saying directly. It really depends on ground reality means that if they start pushing inwards more aggressively, we will retaliate with much more force than what we were used to. So coming to the next article, 5.2 million vaccine doses given so far. So India has reported 22 deaths so far due to vaccines. Yesterday the government came out and said that we are going to give an official number through a committee. Now the number has been released. It said that out of 5.2 million doses, meaning half of the people received vaccines, only 22 died due to vaccine related reasons. As of Friday, 3.3 vaccination doses were given. We are faring much better compared to Western countries where they are still struggling with rolling out vaccines. We are using a platform called CoWIN platform to roll out our vaccinations and keep track of vaccinations in India, and also a mechanism to report adverse events. So 22 people lost their lives due to vaccines. We have vaccinated 5.2 million doses, and the number is going to keep on increasing in the coming days. Along with it, if you remember, we are also helping out other nations through Vaccine Maitreyi. Comparing to other countries, there were 3.3 lakh vaccine administered on Friday, and India has been the fastest when compared to United States, United Kingdom and Israel to reach 5 million inoculations according to a health ministry readout. Coming to the next article, hundreds protest in Myanmar amid arrest of Kyi Suu Kyi aide. So as the continuation of coup in Myanmar is still going on. The situation is very fluid in Myanmar, and most if not almost all countries condemned the military of Myanmar to revert back to a democracy and abandon its thirst for power in Myanmar, to which several hundred teachers and students protested at an Myanmar university, and the citizens of Myanmar has been protesting showing their dissent by clinging or banging glasses, plates and metal objects every day, every night for the past 3 days. As of yesterday, Twitter is blocked, Facebook is blocked. According to a representative of Aung San Suu Kyi, National League for Democracy said on Friday that she was being held at her residence in Naypyidaw, the country's capital, and she is in good health. So according to an organization in Myanmar, the military has politically imprisoned more than 130 important officials and lawmakers who have fought for democracy in Myanmar. The chances of Myanmar military going back to democracy seems to fade away on a daily basis, because again, if you remember yesterday's article, there is a greater influence of China in Myanmar. This can be construed as two things. One is the border with Myanmar and India is a little bit important for us. So China might be thinking in two factors. One is the border with India. Second is proving a hedge to America, directly challenging the Biden administration in terms of foreign policy. Coming to the next article, DFI stands for the Development Finance Institution. That is an institution announced in the budget for developing infrastructure and financing infrastructure products in India through government money. So yesterday the finance minister came out and said that the legislation for setting up a development finance institution to fund infrastructure products will allow for such institutions to be formed by private sector as well. So we are not only limiting the DFI schemes or DFI type of institutions to government only. We will also allow private players to set up their own funds or finance institutions in private sector. So while the budget has provided a fiscal push for capital expenditure in infrastructure sectors with a multiplier effect, it relies on private sector participation in a big way. While the budget has provided a fiscal push for capital expenditure in infrastructure sectors with a multiplier effect, it heavily depends on private sector investments also. The government alone cannot reignite the engines of economy with a major push in infusion of funds or push for funds in infrastructure. The private sector also has to play a role. That is what the government is saying here. The minister said, though government will provide some capital for the proposed development finance institution, the DFI will also raise capital from the market. Not only the government funds, the DFI will be equipped with ways to raise their own money or come up with their own money. So the DFI bill will provide legislative space for private DFIs. Again, it's a mix of hybrid of government infusion of capital and private infusion of capital. Thank you. Have a good day.